Now, the first day of the lockdown imposed in Lagos, Ogun, as well as Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, ended without any major incidents to say, especially regarding what most people in Nigeria consider the frayed relationship between the security agencies and the general public. Now, compliance to the stay indoors directive was almost a near total, none more so than in Lagos, Nigeria's economic and commercial hub, which is regarded as one of the busiest cities in the world as well. Now, despite all of that, however, that feeling of apprehension does seem to be persisting, particularly among those that have argued that locking people in their homes without adequate socio-economic and also institutional support is tantamount to a ticking time bomb that could explode sooner rather than later. Now, in a country where more than half of the population subsist on less than $1 a day, not to forget over 100 million Nigerians living in absolute poverty, and one that groans under a gross insufficiency of basic amenities for everyday living, the arrival of COVID-19 in Nigeria is already being touted by some civil rights figures as the beginning of the big payday to the poor by those who over the years have been accused of plundering Nigeria's abundant resources. But how true are these projections and prognosis as well? In pursuit of a better understanding, we're now being joined here by Dr. Austin Nweze, an economist analyst and also a member of the Faculty of Media and Communication at the Pan-Atlantic University here in Lagos. And before we begin to engage with Dr. Nweze today on this topic, let's quickly take a look at some of the reactions recorded here in Lagos on the first day of the lockdown. And when we're back, we'll be talking about it some more.
You are right, Sal, but I have a question, please. You were saying we should stay indoor, but the indoor you are asking us to stay, do you know that there is no food for us? There is nothing they provide for us. People, they say 14 days, and 14 days is not a day. And there is no money, there is no food.
My sister.
Yeah, I'm listening, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry about my brother.
I'm listening clearly.
There's nothing we can do right now.
Okay.
Are you saying that the government should release everybody so that the virus will keep spreading?
No, I never said so. I never said so. They said a social distance.
It's a precautionary measure.
Yes, you are right by that. But we are telling you from now to 2 days, we will come out to protest. If they do not send any money or food for us, we will protest. We will protest. We will protest. We are given 2 days.
And,
Dr.
Nweze, yeah.
Dr. Nweze, are you with us? Did you join us in watching that video of the reaction of the people to the lockdown, particularly in Lagos?
Heartbreaking.
And if so, do you think that the lockdown has been handled properly? Should the federal government of Nigeria have given people in Lagos, Ogun, and the Federal Capital Territory enough notice? Or do you think that government should have provided some kind of social safety net, as Mr. Tedo Peterside argued a few moments ago? Or do you think that there are some palliatives that can be provided beyond just giving the people food in some cases, as Lagos State has attempted? How do you think that the poor can be helped? They've been locked down. They say they have no access to money. They have no access to electricity. There is no institutional support. What kind of measures do you think that government can still take to manage the situation?
Well, Ruben, you know, there's something we have to understand about Lagos. You know, Lagos is 60-65% Nigeria's economy. And also, you know, when you talk about economic growth of Nigeria, Lagos also is about that 60-something percent. of growth, economic growth. So if there's anything, the majority of the people live in Lagos, and not enough notice was given. A lot of the media houses, including you, Ruben, and your team, were begging the president to please talk to us. And then some people felt that now that the president has spoken to us, and it compounded the whole issue. It just said everybody stay in your home without any preparation. Problem solving in Nigeria is such that they create more problems and provide jobs for those who don't need it and take away jobs from those who need it. So it's quite unfortunate that the government did not give enough notice. And I like what Ogun State governors did. He said, look, we cannot just go overnight. We need space. We need time to be able to plan. That we cannot start until Friday, which Lagos State could also have done so. But everybody just jumped. People were not prepared, and we don't have savings culture in Nigeria. The economy that we run is a daily income kind of thing, and people depend on daily income to be able to survive. The downfall drivers, the akara seller, and all that, there was nothing. And I have never seen Lagos obey laws, stay at home like they did this time around. It was quite, comprehensive lockdown, if I may use that word, and people really complied. Not because of fear of the law or, the policemen and all that, but because of the fear of the corona. Because it's like a wing, you don't see it, you can't hold it. So everybody, out of fear, decided to, So it's quite unfortunate. But the government, on the other hand, should have done something to some, fiscal stimulus that's supposed to be done before really or during the period, And then, like what private sector people are trying to do, individuals who have money, contributing something to, to help the less privileged. But I don't support the approach of handing over everything to the government without their own involvement. And that's why I appreciate what Atedopida side that spoke to us earlier, is his own initiative. There should be private sector involvement. You don't just hand over money to politicians, expect them to use it, because they don't care about the poor. They don't. They're not even happy that we are alive. Left to them, say everybody should just die, especially those who are giving them trouble. So it's quite unfortunate that up to now, nothing, no palliatives. The Lagos State tried providing something, but again, and some people are suggesting, look, they have our account numbers, what the banks could have done, all this 1 billion that Zenith Bank, Access Bank are giving, just pay it into the customer's accounts, so that you'll be able to know, if you go to my account now, maybe I have 3,000 naira, you can dump in some money to enable me survive and all that. So that could be what should have been done, some of the things that could be done. It should be more organized, more systemic than just handing over money to politicians. You can be sure it will not get to the masses. Now, again, in this kind of situation, we expect that there will be enough gas for all the discos and, to make sure that there's power for everyone to stay at home and all that. And, but find that in some areas, you don't even have it, and you'll be running generator. The little cash you have to gas up your generator, and, that kind of also causes some kind of financial burden on the people. But again, thank God that the banks are working. But for those who have money in the banks and stuff like that. And again, you find again that one good thing about the stay-at-home situation is that crime rate is supposed to reduce. We have not reported the incidents of armed robbery and all that because they themselves are afraid. And so that's one good thing about it. But what about the work part of it? How many people are sure of their jobs after the whole thing? Unemployment rate will go up. Right now at 27, 28%. Adult unemployment, not to talk of youth unemployment of over 54, 55%. So some of these things, and how many companies, how long is it going to take us to come out of this? After 2 weeks, It's going to take another 30, 60 days for work to actually resume fully and the economy to start humming again, and stuff like that. So, and again, Ruben, you discover that the government has not said anything about research. How do we depend on, it's like outsourcing our thinking and all that to either China or America. Oh, we can get it easily from London, or we can get it easily from China and all that. Our own homegrown research, some of these monies could have been used. Work with the pharmaceutical companies and know what they have capacity to produce, so that we'll be using some of these things. I heard people expressing fear that they don't trust China anymore. Even I heard that Jack Ma sent some face masks and all that. And they don't trust China anymore. And if it's a homegrown thing, it will be able to. You can gather all the tailors in Aba. They can produce us with a quality mask, that is very good at this thing. We can use our own, in-house stuff, to mobilize, to begin to produce. It's an opportunity for us to grow the economy, even though things are, businesses are shut. But research, Ruben, that is the only way forward for nations who are, interested in growth. Economic growth is intentional. It's not inherited. It's not wished. It's not something you can wish. It's something you deliberately, intentionally, you create it. And people are thinking, how do we survive post-coronavirus? How do we survive? How can we revive the economy? And stuff like that. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you on that note. We need to take a short commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Morning Show here on Arise News, and we still have Dr. Austin Nweze with us, an economic analyst and a member of the Faculty of Media and Communication at Pan Atlantic University. And we're looking into the current lockdown that's been placed here in Lagos State, also in neighboring Ogun State, and of course the Federal Capital Territory as well. Dr. Nweze, thanks for staying with us on the program. Now, we were talking about the economic implications of this initial 14-day lockdown before you went on a break. I read a report this morning that's showing that we're expected to lose about 1.62 trillion naira within the 3 states over this lockdown. Now, the government have come out to suggest that they are going to try and cushion the effects as much as possible. You also spoke about the private sector coming in. We're seeing a lot of our billionaires coming out to pledge 1 billion naira, however, not directly to the people, but to the federal government. That has raised a lot of questions, etc. So my question to you is, do you think we really have a strong enough strategy to identify demographics in society that are most in need of relief packages and relief funds? Because it doesn't necessarily seem as though or as if we do.
Well, we don't really, because and one of the ways of keeping data and all that is, your street addresses. People may think, oh, what has street address got to do with this? But it's very, very important in economic planning, people we don't keep good records and stuff like that. But the good way to start is, I know that about, 40% of Nigerians have a banking relationship, and you have BVN, okay, to locate some of these, some of these Nigerians, all right? So we can use that. So any kind of stimulus we are passing on to the people, we can use that. Small businesses could be assisted, maybe that could be the strategy. But there's no strategy on ground. They have not told us, this is what we plan to do, okay? They have released that money. Maybe there's confusion on what to do with it, okay? You have the money, what do you do with it? And you find that at the end of the day, the money will not get to those that it meant to get to, okay? Like the small businesses. Okay, their businesses are shut down, and some of them have not been able to pay salaries. Okay, so if we have a database of all these small businesses and all that, we can say, okay, this is what the government can do. Some palliative they can do, to support and all that. Maybe pick up some of the bills. Some cannot even do. Some of them depend on daily business to be able to survive. Selling on a daily basis, or those that have business centers. They depend on all of this. but there is no strategy in place. What do we do? You just announce, okay, United States government announced $1 trillion this and that's okay. Since US, maybe there's something good in doing so. Let us also announce our own package to sway or calm the nerves of the people that, hey, there is hope. But what strategy do we have in place? I haven't seen any. So, any real strategy for the government, after, during, and post coronavirus pandemic. So I haven't seen anything, no strategy at all. And this should be focused on people getting back to work. It should, one good way, again, on doing this is what can we do? Interest rate, we can reduce it. Some of the debts being owed by some businesses could be, could be shifted. Due dates could be shifted. Maybe, okay, don't pay your debt throughout this year. Let's recover from all of this. From 2021, you can start paying your debts and all that. And then interest rate could be reduced to a single digit, maybe 2%, if it's possible. Again, so you can use some of these monies that you have printed to give out to people and then to support businesses. It's important that people retain their jobs and new jobs are created. Because if you don't, you create some kind of restiveness. So the people will be, who cannot afford to eat, to support their families, who were able to do that before the coronavirus pandemic, will not be able to do that after the whole thing blows over. And crime rate will increase. So you find that a whole lot of things will happen. Okay, what about schools? Okay, the children are at home and the schools are not working and stuff like that. No light at home for them to do one or two things. And the internet penetration is not high enough for a lot of people to actually engage in online learning and all that, which is the future. Post-pandemic, online homeschooling is the future, is the starting point. A whole lot of things will change, after this whole thing blows over. But is Nigeria ready? Is the government ready? The individuals, the citizens can be ready, but I'm not sure government is ready to learn a lesson or two from all of this. Because there's no strategy in place. Maybe they're still thinking about it, but the earlier we know where the government is headed, it will, the better for us. So that there will be some kind of hope, and going forward, that at least when all this blows over, then there's hope somewhere, at the other end of the tunnel.
Dr. Nweze, yesterday, Arise News had an interview anchored by our colleague Charles Aniagolu with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And Secretary General Guterres in that interview talked about global solidarity and cooperation. He talked about sacrifice by health workers. He talked about cooperation, global solidarity. He talked about helping, persons in difficult circumstances, particularly persons who may be physically handicapped. But he made one point. He said COVID-19 is not so much a financial crisis, that it is a humanitarian crisis. You are an economist. Is it more of a humanitarian crisis than a financial crisis? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a humanitarian crisis, which also requires financial support. I was on radio, one of the radio stations a couple of days ago, and a caller phoned in and said that he was sick in the hospital, and no medicine, no doctors and all that. How do people expect him to survive? What can they do? Some people are affected by the last fire incident in Lagos near Festac. Some of them are still outside. They phoned in and said, look, in this kind of situation, what can the government do? Nothing has been done in all of this. So it's a humanitarian thing. And that's why the initiative by Peter side and some other good-hearted Nigerians, is a welcome development. And we encourage other people to take up something they can do directly. The Bankers Association can get together and put all these monies together and find what they can do to reach out to the individuals, rather than maybe buy foodstuff and send to homes, And Ruben, I wish I had that kind of money that Dangote has. I would have bought a whole lot of things because it's a humanitarian thing. And foodstuff to make sure that people eat, to make sure that all our medical or hospitals and all that are well equipped. And this is an opportunity for government to do all of that. The opportunity in the sense that to be able to fix all of this, government can put in more money to be able to improve our health system because it's in shambles. Okay, nobody can trust. Somebody said, okay, is it not better? A friend of mine that they live in London, but they're visiting Nigeria, and I told him yesterday, I said, look, it's better you guys are in Nigeria now that you have coronavirus. The pandemic is not as serious as it is in London, in Nigeria here. And he said, look, yes, but they have better health facilities there. There's a greater chance of their surviving in London than surviving in Nigeria if such a thing happens. And, it goes to show that we need to improve our health system, And then when doctors go on strike, in 2017 alone, about 800 medical doctors left Nigeria for greener pastures in Europe and North America, And one minister said that we have enough doctors, it doesn't matter, they can leave. I mean, what an embarrassing statement to make. So you find that this is an opportunity for government to rethink, to come up with a strategy on how to help the people. You see, nations grow not economically alone, for the economic growth of any nation. The leadership has to take care of the people. Okay? What is the value of life? You find that when one person is missing in countries like in US and UK or Germany, government is always interested in saving the life of one person. But in Nigeria, they'll tell you, it's not only one person. I better let him go now so that life can move on. Okay? God blesses nations based on the attitude of leadership towards the people that they lead. Okay? So it doesn't matter, religion does not, doesn't come in. But the closer, the contiguity between the God's plan for mankind and also the state policy, the policy of government, the closer they are together to help the citizens, the more growth that nation will experience. But any nation that ignores the citizens in a time like this, that nation has no chance of growing more than where it is now. So it is important that government look at this as a humanitarian thing to save the lives of the people and see how people can come back to business, recover their life, they pick up their lives back after this whole thing. But they need financial support. Like the leader of APC suggested last time, that government should print more money. Okay, I believe that other nations are printing more money for this kind of to solve this problem. I mean, what stops them from printing more money if they have to? But again, since the rich guys in the society are coming out to contribute and all that, well, maybe they might think otherwise.
We only have a couple minutes left on the program, and I'd like us to get as much in here as possible. So I'd like to move on to crisis communication and how you think the government has handled the crisis communication so far. We literally have 1 minute left, sir, and I'm saying this with regards to fears that citizens have about police harassment or harassment from other security agencies now that this lockdown has been imposed. Do you think that the government has done enough in that particular sector of crisis communication?
I don't think so. This is a subject matter I like so much, and I teach it in the school, crisis communication. One of the things that you do is truth-telling, the facts the way it is. Okay? Are you telling the people exactly, are you communicating at the right time that you are supposed to communicate to the people? The answer is no. The president, the chief executive of this country, supposed to have a monthly, a daily update of what's going on, but virtually he said, look, I don't have to talk. Even the media person, Shehu Garba, said there's no need for him to. I mean, who do you think we are? If you have respect for the citizens, who put you there? And you said you have a responsibility to tell them exactly what's going on. What is your plan for the people? So crisis communication is, I'm not encouraged, I'm not happy about it, because they didn't handle it well. They have not handled it well, and they're not handling it well. If not for the media that have come together to sensitize the citizens and tell them what to do, it would have been a whole disaster.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nweze, and sorry to cut you short there. We have run out of time.